Hello and welcome to e-helium webinar. I'm Deepak Subramanian. I'm the founder and CEO of e-helium. Thanks to our guest speaker Sangeeta and all our audience who have joined us today. As some of you may be aware, we host a webinar every Friday at 5 p.m. across 5 different platforms. We are live on our website, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. Today's session is about financial acumen, and this is a topic of great importance to each one of us because financial acumen actually can make or break somebody's career, and it can also actually enable one from staying stagnant at the director level or moving up to the C-suite. So I would like to start the session by giving a small story from my professional life, which actually made me understand the importance of financial acumen. So there was this client of mine. The story happened sometime in 2010. And for all of you, I'm actually a recruitment consultant. This happened in 2010 when one of my clients called me to discuss manpower requirements. He used to run an investment banking firm, and he had invested in about 5 different companies at that point in time, and he wanted to hire for the businesses that he had invested in. So the conversation was going fairly well, and all of a sudden he started speaking in financial terms. He started telling me that, hey, you know what, Deepak, there is this company where I've invested. They're doing extremely well for themselves. Their unit economics are very good. Their product market fit has been attained. And if you look at their P&L and balance sheet, it's amazing that the startup has such a good P&L. And I was like, I didn't know how to react. I kind of froze at that moment because I knew he was talking something which was making me feel very, very uncomfortable. And then I was prudent enough not to act. I told that gentleman, sir, all this while the conversation was going well, but unfortunately, whatever you spoke in the last 2 minutes, I really don't understand. For which he asked me a question. He asked me, Deepak, are you an entrepreneur? I said, yes, sir, I'm an entrepreneur. For which he asked me, you don't understand finance and how can you call yourself an entrepreneur? This came as a slap on my face. I told him, yes, sir, I will do my best to understand finance. And being an elderly person, he didn't want to actually put me off. So he jokingly told me, Deepak, the next time we meet up, I want you to understand finance well. So he recommended a book for me. So he said, right after this meeting, go to a bookstore and pick this book called Romancing the Balance Sheet by Anil Lamba. So I went and picked that book. I tried reading that book as much as I could. But unfortunately, being coming from an engineering background, not understanding finance, I could understand only a little bit of it. And after which, kind of things were going on, and it was really in 2019 is when I again started understanding finance better. And thanks to Sangeeta Sumesh, who is our guest speaker for the day, because I got this book from one of the bookstores in Adyar. I was in Odyssey, Adyar, when I saw this book. I picked it up, and then I realized I knew this person. I knew it was Sangeeta who had written this book. So I called Sangeeta and told her, hey, know what, Sangeeta, I bought this book and I've started reading it. Then Sangeeta told me that she was doing a finance workshop for entrepreneurs. I actually enrolled for that program, and that program actually transformed my entire life. The way I started looking at finance, or rather numbers and the business, completely changed, and that changed my perspective. So I thought it will be really nice if I could have Sangeeta do a session for all of us today. And one thing about Sangeeta is she will make it really simple for all of us. Finance can be learned in a simple way if Sangeeta is going to teach us finance. So welcome, Sangeeta. Welcome to our show. Thanks for joining us. A quick introduction about Sangeeta. Sangeeta is a CFO. She's a high-performance coach and also a best-selling author. The book which I showed you is one of Sangeeta's work. Sangeeta has published 3 books so far. And Welcome, Sangeeta. Thanks for joining us. Looks like we are having some connectivity issues at Sangeeta's end. We'll wait for her to join. In the meanwhile, one thing which I really admire about Sangeeta is though she wears multiple hats, she's a speaker, she's a high performance coach, she's a CFO, and she's a best-selling author. Apart from all of this, one thing which I really admire about Sangeeta is her ability to teach financial concepts using acronyms. In the one-day session which I attended with Sangeeta, she taught me about 10 acronyms, and those are very, very easy to understand, and I've still been using it. I've still been using it.
And thank you so much for those lovely words of introduction.
Sangeeta, looks like
can you hear me? Deepak?
Not really, Sangeeta. I think there's a connection problem at your end. We'll probably wait for you to. Yeah, I think it's clear now.
Is it okay? Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, sorry about that. I don't know why today it's been acting a little wonky, but I was able to hear you and see you.
Guys, I'm so sorry. Looks like we lost Sangeeta. Just we'll wait for some more time for her to join back.
Is that okay? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm able to hear you, Sangeeta. Finally, yeah.
Yeah, I hope it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, please go ahead, Sangeeta.
Yes, so thank you so much for those lovely words of introduction, and I look forward to our session. I've been waiting. I know we have fixed this date quite some time ago, so I'm out here to see how I can value add and see how careers can be uplifted, because finance is definitely one of the key things that people need to know and understand for them to grow in their careers.
Correct. So, Sangeeta, we will have today's session more like a Q&A. We'll have it more like a conversation and not use PowerPoint presentations. Is that okay?
Sure. Absolutely fine. Yeah.
Awesome. So I would like to start off by asking you a question on how to overcome the fear of finance, because this is a question which is there in most of our minds. How do we overcome the fear of finance?
Okay. What I would say is get mad. And you must be wondering why I'm saying get mad. But like you said, I'm an acronym person, right? So I thought I'll start with an acronym. The acronym is MAD. So, and it's easy for you to remember. Okay. So what I mean by M is the mindset. Firstly, the mindset has to change. Now, if you're always going to be under the impression that, finance is difficult and, I'm not really, I don't think I would like it, and, it's a big challenge for me. If you're going to have that mindset, however much, you put in your efforts, it's not going to yield you the fruits that you want. So the first thing is to change your mindset. So M, I would say the mindset which has to shift, right? So look at it positively because it's good for you and it's good for your career growth. So first is M, standing for the mindset which has to change from your side internally is what I would say. A stands for the attitude. What sort of attitude are you approaching finance with, right? Because if you still think, oh my God, this is a Herculean task, or, this is not my cup of tea, this is very challenging, or, why should I look at finance? There are these finance professionals who can always look at it and work on it. If you're going to go with that sort of an attitude, of course, that again is not going to help. So your attitude towards finance also has to change. And D is to develop your skill set. Like, all right, it's a challenge. All along you've been ignorant and, you haven't worked on it. That's fine. It's never too late to get started. So start acquiring and developing your financial skills and knowledge, because that's what is going to help you overcome the fear. So let me give you an example. Probably when we were all children, when we first tried our hands at cycling or swimming, the first thing was definitely an emotion of fear, because we were scared, what if I drown, or what if I fall off the cycle, that is there. But now you're so, comfortable riding a cycle or, going for a swim. So how did that transformation happen? Because you developed yourself out there, right? So this is no different. So it's just that you need to get that aptitude and develop your skills towards it, which is what will help you to overcome this fear. So that's why I say go mad. Get your mindset, your attitude, and develop your skills.
Awesome. And why do you think it's important for other domain experts to have business acumen and financial prudence?
Okay. I'm going to ask you a question back. Why does a business exist? Why does your business exist?
To make profits. To make
Absolutely.
money.
Absolutely. So that's the core reason for any business to exist. However big or however small, whichever domain, whichever industry, the main reason a business exists is to make money. Because if that's not the objective, then you might as well do a charity, right? So understand and acknowledge that every business is out here to make money. So normally, if you look at an organization, it's only the CEO or the CFO who are thinking about profits or the money matters or anything to do with finance. But the fact is, an organization is the entire team. It's not just the CEO or the CFO. So everybody has to work together as a team to accomplish this ultimate objective of making money. While everybody is contributing, in various ways in their domains, but what is that extra thing that you are doing to contribute towards the profit? Because going this extra mile, right? I call this GEM, GEM, going extra mile. By going this extra mile and understanding a little bit more about finance and doing some activities in connection with that, that's what will give you the edge over everybody else and take you to greater heights in your career. So what you need to do is you need to think finance, think of the financial impact and what are the financial implications any particular thing will have, the repercussion that it will have in the organization. So any business, it has a finance dream. For a change now, I'm going to sing a song for you. Okay, the song goes like this. Baba, hey manager, do you have more bugs? Yes, sir, 3 bags full. 1 as profits, 1 for my team, and 1 as reserves for a rainy day. So it's very important that, once you make the profits, I say, divide the profits into 3. 1 is definitely the profit for the organization, from the overall profits. 1 you need to give, the 1/3 you need to give it to your team because, your team is the one who's actually helping you achieve this. So you need to, ensure the team is, well taken care of. And the other 1/3, the balance has to be kept in as a reserve for any sort of rainy day. So like, look at times like these. Businesses who have managed to have sufficient cash reserves have managed to succeed well and do very well. So that is why I always insist. If you remember, even in the workshop, I was telling that, it's important to build these cash reserves because you never know when what will happen. Now, the thing is, it's a global thing, but it could be industry specific or something specific to your business alone. So it's always better to be well prepared and have that cash reserve. And this is applicable even for your personal finance, right? Because it's always good to have these reserves. Yes.
Okay. I have personally seen many people at managerial levels being so uncomfortable with finance. Why is it that way? On one side you have a set of people who are very, very good at numbers. The other set of people, a majority of them are not good at numbers. Why do you think this happens?
Right. So like you said, the first thing is the fear factor. That is at a mental level. And added to that, it's also the lack of interest, lack of aptitude, the keenness not to know, or it could sometimes just be pure ignorance, right? Or they may think like, I don't want to get overly burdened, my focus is my domain. So why should I look at finance? So all these different things, and added to this, what I've also realized is, it's to do with to an extent, their upbringing, or what has happened to them in their childhood. And that defines the relationship they have with money. So let me tell you a small story here. There was many years ago, one of the rich man, he was the only one who had a car, and it was a luxury car. He had come and he had parked it in one of these small by-lanes. Now, two of the little boys who were playing there, they were very enamored because they haven't seen such a big car, and it's a luxury car. So they go around it, they touch it, feel it, and they are so excited about it. So this man, finishes the visit to whoever he had come to pay his visit. So when he comes back, he sees these two boys running all over the car, and obviously he's not too thrilled because he was, for him, the car was very precious, and he shooed them away. And then he said, how can you come and touch my car? And whatever. So these two boys, what happened? One of them, he felt, this is how the rich people are. They don't respect people. They are rude, they are arrogant. And, so subconsciously, the decision he took is, I don't want to be rich because I don't want to be arrogant. I don't want to, act like this and behave like this very badly. The second boy, the decision that he took was, I want to own such a car. When I grow up, I want to have this sort of a car, and I want to live luxuriously, and I want to own this car. Now, many years later, if you look, that's exactly how their lives transformed. The guy who had this great vision, he had luxury cars, and, he had a financially well-to-do life, whereas the other boy grew up in, some sort of a poverty. So that is why I say the relationship with money, what sort of relationship have you built with money? That is very important. So that is one of the crucial factors, right? So that is there. Another thing in an organization context that I would like to, talk about is, I had been to Scotland in Glasgow in Scotland. So there were these huge banners that said, people make Glasgow. Now, it's very similar in an organization as well, because it's the people who make the organization, and it's the people who can actually make the organization to flourish financially, or not based on whatever contributions that they're making. So that is very important. Now, leaders, managers, the teams, whoever, they can actually make or break their organization by the 3 Ds. What are they? The decisions, what sort of decisions that they're making, what sort of demands that they have on the organization, and what sort of deeds that they're doing, right? Because all these 3 translate into the financial aspect of it. Because if they don't take the right kind of decisions, if they don't, do the right kind of deeds, or, they do not have these proper demands, what happens is financially the organization gets skewed. So they don't think about the financial outcome of any particular thing, then it is a mess for the organization. And that is why I say it's important to think finance, to think from a financial perspective as well. And another thing that I've noticed is, if you look at these various teams, especially the ones that are not in finance, if the manager or the team lead, or, the pyramid structure, if the head is not involved in finance, now obviously that flows down. And the others are also not involved. And so this becomes a sort of a legacy that's passed on, and the entire organization doesn't become successful financially, or even if it is successful financially, it is not up to its full potential. So if you want the business to really grow and be successful financially, then it's important that everybody in the organization is involved in the financial aspect.
So I remember one of the conversations I had with somebody who used to work with me. So we had a pretty bad month, and I asked her, I don't know how we are going to process the salaries, and she said the finance will do it, right? So so
Yes, that's very typical. Yeah.
correct. Yeah. So we'll move on to the next question. In your experience, why do they need to develop the ability to understand and use finance concepts and numbers as managers?
Right. Okay. So let me give you two real life examples here. So one is about a person who was extremely good technically, right? He was a domain expert, and he was like the champion across in the huge multinational. Everybody used to respect him, and they used to be in awe of his domain knowledge. Now it so happened that in a few years, the CEO of the current CEO of the organization left the organization, and they were looking for a suitable replacement. And this person who was the CTO at that time, they said, he will be a very good fit because he's so good, whatever. They promoted him, and unfortunately, they decided to reverse his roles back to the CTO and not to the CEO because his finance knowledge was not great. So he was not in a position to answer the questions of the board, or he was not taking the right sort of financial decisions, all of which had a repercussion in the organization's growth. So, when I'm talking about like a CTO to a CEO, and if you do not have this financial knowledge, and even though you may be a domain expert, you see what happens to the career. On the other hand, I'd also like to tell you another real life example. So there was this another person. His educational qualifications was nothing fancy, but he was very shrewd with numbers, right? So he was deputed as an expat to manage teams, and the very good thing that this person did was he was just speaking the language of money to his stakeholders. He would present the important aspects of finance which they need to know, and to say how the team that he was handling, how it has grown financially and how it's contributed to the financial success of the organization. So this guy, his career grew, and his package grew, and he was deputed as an expatriate, and with all the extra perks of many other fancy things as well. So the reason I'm quoting this example is, once you get a hang of finance, you know how to exactly talk and present to your stakeholders. That makes a hell a lot of difference. So that is why it makes it all the more important, irrespective of whichever level you are, to speak this sort of language, to know some of the basic financial terms. That's how you project yourself, you grow yourself, level by level in your career. So if you're looking for a career growth over and above your domain, these are things that you need to do to step up your career. Looks like you have a power back out again. Deepak? Okay, let's wait for Deepak to rejoin. The technology and the power is always a challenge. So, yeah, let's just wait for him to come back. Yeah, I think there
Yeah.
is. Yes.
So sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No worries. Yeah. Yeah. So I just completed my answer. I gave these two real life examples saying, why it is so important and essential for anybody and everybody, irrespective of their level, to understand finance.
Okay. So let's assume the manager and above levels, or for that matter, any employee understands finance well. How do you think it's going to contribute to become a thing they can actually shape up their career and move up to the next level?
Right. Okay. So again, let me start off with a real life example. So there is this person. So when he joined, he was a domain. He was very good in his domain. So I think he started off as a team lead or something like that. So his domain knowledge was very good, and then his team handling skills were good too. So I think he was promoted as a manager, and then he proved his mettle with the customer negotiations and getting more business from the customers. So he was promoted as a senior manager, and thereafter he started investing his time in learning a little bit on finance, and therefore he started projecting things like the revenue increase, the headcount increase, how it is helped the growth of the revenue, what sort of margin percentage his division is contributing to the company, and different financial parameters that he spoke about, that he was then promoted to become a business head, right?
Okay.
So this is how, I'm not saying finance is the only thing. Your basic thing is your domain expertise. And apart from that, there are a host of other things which are very important to mold your career and grow your career accordingly. And definitely finance is one of them, right? So to answer your question on how they can contribute, so you need to project yourself by talking about the bottom line impact, and whatever financial information or data that you're presenting, you should present it in such a way that you speak about the financial impact, and you need to have information to back up whatever the numbers that you're talking about, because that is also important, because it shouldn't seem like the person is just guessing it away. It should be backed by the exact numbers as well.
Okay. So now that we have understood the importance of having a good financial acumen, what do you think are the main aspects of finance one should know?
Main aspects of finance, right? Okay. So as a thumb rule, the most important thing first is the P&L impact, right? Because like we discussed, the business exists to make money. So how are you contributing to making money for the organization? That is the key thing. So it could be depending on your level, and depending on what your business, the organization's business is into. You need to craft that accordingly. But this is the thumb rule. Now let me again give you some real life examples. So this was for a workshop that I did for a huge manufacturing organization. It was a finance workshop. So there, what had happened, till this happened, I think this is pre-pandemic. So when I met them, they were telling me that about 2 years ago or something, the organization used to focus only on the top line. So everybody used to speak only about the turnover. So the financial atmosphere, if I may say so, was like, how are you contributing to the top line growth? Because their only focus was top line. They wanted to, grow their turnover, double it, triple it, whatever. So everybody used to think and speak only about their sales. And then, of course, we know what happened. There's economic slowdown and recession, whatever. So from the top line, the organization started focusing on costs. How can we reduce our costs? So every department, the mandate that was given to them was to see how and where they can reduce costs. So any sort of actions that they could take on cost reduction was welcomed by the organization. So this includes things like even your time cost, because time, since it's invisible, people don't realize that time comes with a cost, but time is also a cost. Your project delays will translate into, because of this time, will translate into huge costs. So all these aspects, different aspects of cost were being analyzed. So then, of course, the focus was on the profits, but finally, what the organization realized was the focus was on cash. Right? They say cash is king, right? So everybody from the focus from being on the top line to the cost to the profit started changing towards cash, because what they wanted was, they realized the collections was very poor. So every salesperson and every department, like be it purchases or administration, whatever, everybody had to be involved in contributing to the cash reserves. So you see, this paradigm shift has been happening. So businesses accommodate themselves to the need of the hour. They plan to see what needs to be done and what is most critical at this juncture. So by and large, these are the various parameters, and this could be changing along with time. So that's why I said one thing that would definitely not change irrespective of the pandemic or not, or any sort of recession, is your P&L. So the main focus can be on the P&L, the profits, and apart from that, it depends on what your organization's financial goals and objectives are. So get to know what they are and then see how you can contribute. Because like in the example that I said, how the focus kept changing from top line to the cash, find out what is the most important and crucial thing for your organization and see how you can play a role there, because that is what is going to make a difference to your career. So that is what is the
Okay. And what do you think are some of the financial metrics attached to a managerial role or roles above managerial levels?
right? Okay. So
I would also kind of have an extension to this question. Does every role have a financial metric attached to it, and how does one understand that?
Okay. Let me answer your question in two parts. So one, irrespective of whatever domain you may be in, especially if you're a manager, one of the key things is growth, because all organizations look for growth. So you could, for example, look at a growth from a quarter-on-quarter perspective or on a year-on-year perspective, and then do a sort of a variance analysis. What do I mean by variance analysis? What was it either in the previous quarter or the previous year, and how much is it in the present? And what is the difference between the two, and what is cost this difference? The difference could be significantly high, significantly low, or it could be status quo, whatever. But once you do this, it will give you clarity and idea on why that has happened. So how is it you can address that particular issue for your business, right? So look at the growth, just compare it with the previous quarter, or the previous 6 months, or compare it with last year. That is in terms of the growth. So similarly, you can do the profit as well. So profit, you can even probably compare on a month-on-month basis or something like that. So compare and analyze to see how the profits are being sucked into. So of course, you have cost, and then the productivity, how efficient your teams have been, what sort of productivity. What is the recoverability, right? Like I said, cash. So are your customers been paying you on time? If not, you can just pitch in and see, especially the difficult customers, you could see how best, because you are the customer facing role. So you'll have a better rapport with the customer, find out, is it to do with a delivery issue, or if they are not satisfied with any particular thing, and how you can actually go and give them that. So how well are you managing within the time that has been allocated for you, because all projects, everything will have a time frame. So are you adhering to the time frame as well? How are you planning your resources, your headcount planning? Because people are going to be idle and sit on the bench. Again, these are all tantamounting to the cost increase. So these are different parameters that one can look into, and depending on the role that they're playing, they need to see how they can add in that extra value. So to answer your question, if every role will have a financial metrics or not attached to it, as I said, every role has, definitely. But for you to pin it down, it depends on your specialities. But at the end of the day, it depends on what sort of value you're adding to the organization, what sort of efficiencies you're bringing along in whatever role that you're playing, and how all this translates to either the top line growth or the bottom line growth, and whatever is the financial mandate that has been given to the respective teams. So it depends on that. And when I also say P&L impact, so I give you a small exception to this. This is, of course, I'm going to give you an exception of an NGO. Here, what they do is definitely like the P&L matters, but apart from that, they also look at the number of lives they are impacting, right? So while this might not directly translate into a financial thing, being an NGO, it's important that they look at the number of lives that are being impacted. So in a business context, right? So it could be like the number of customers that you're getting. and that will indirectly translate to the top line growth and stuff like that. So you should look at it holistically to see how you are able to contribute to the business growth. And I'll give you another example here. So one of the managers, he was given a mandate to grow the business in a new market. So the management had given him a particular budget, and I think they had given him a time frame of 1 year to grow it in the new market. Now, unfortunately, it didn't take off too well. It was actually failed, and then he exceeded both the budget and the time frame, right? So, though this person was supposed to be a senior salesperson, he failed. So this obviously affected his career growth as well, because he was considered to be a failure, because not only he wasted the resources, but also the time frame he took much longer, and still he hadn't succeeded in getting the newer business in the newer markets. So that's how it will all translate into. So it depends on the specific role that one has to play, but end of it, what really matters is what is the value that you are adding to the business. And this value addition, it will be great if you can translate it into financial terms, because end of the that's what the stakeholders and whoever's in charge, they are going to look at it in financial terms. So that is what makes it very important to see what are the financial metrics that contribute.
Thanks. The next question is there right on the screen. What should managers do to improve the financial efficiency of their teams? And also probably financial acumen of the teams.
Okay. Right. So on the improving the efficiency of the teams, I think managers firstly have to be great leaders, right? They need to activate their leadership skills. Okay, this, what I'm going to give you now, has nothing directly to do with finance, but by adopting and resorting to this will have an impact on the financial efficiency. So let me give you another acronym again. The acronym is leadership. So L here stands for listen. Listen to your teams, because many times leaders, they don't pay attention to their teams. It's more like a one-way communication. They are just instructing and telling them, hey, finish this, have you done this, have you done that? No. So listen to your teams, because by listening to them, you're actually getting more information as well. So L stands for listen. E is to empower the teams, because once you empower, it's actually lesser work for you, because your teams are actually performing better and giving you what you want. A is to appreciate. Many times leaders don't appreciate the work done by the team, and tell me who doesn't like appreciation, especially if they've done something well, and a person appreciates, especially if it's the boss. I mean, any human would definitely feel good about it. So A is to appreciate. B is to develop your team, because equip them, see that they are all set to handle and give you your deliverables. So develop them according to your requirements. E is to show the empathy, right? Empathy is very important. Most of us as humans, we seem to be losing this empathy factor. But if you can reinforce the empathy, especially with your team is going to go all out and give you what you want. R is respect. Respect the team. Don't treat them like a piece of dirt. So respect them. S is for support, because you as a leader have to support the team. You can't pass on the buck and say like, my team hasn't done whatever. So you need to be supportive, be there for them and give them that push that is required. H is being a high performer, because if you are a high performer, obviously the team is going to follow suit, because all these things flow from the top. So you lead by example. So be a high performer yourself. I is to inspire the team, and P is to make it positive. Whatever you say, even if you have to give them not a very pleasant feedback, make it sound positive, and so that give it with tact and diplomacy, so that they know how to correct themselves and improve themselves in order to deliver as per your requirements, because the success of the leader or the manager is all dependent on the team, right? So you need to ensure you have your good leadership skills, team handling skills, because once you get this buy-in from the team, driving the financial efficiencies is going to be a lot more easier. And with regard to your question on financial acumen, what are the things that, not just managers, even others, what they can do is One is financial awareness. Get to first be aware that you need to look at things from a financial perspective as well, and get to know what are the metrics, what are the things that play in your organization, in the role that you're playing. So first is your financial awareness. Second, of course, is financial education. Learn what are the different things, the different aspects of finance that you need to be familiar with. Be familiar with the terms, like what is a margin, what are the margin percentage, what is EBITDA, what is your PBT, stuff like that. Be familiar with basic things. Then, of course, is your financial metrics, which we discussed. So whatever is important for your organization, and especially the role that you are playing into, look at those metrics. And then is your financial decision making, because everything is based on the decisions that you make. So whatever decisions you're making, what will be the financial repercussions? So think through about that as well. Then what are your financial demands? Because let's say you're running a project, you want to invest in a huge software, for example, right? Or you may want a new equipment, right? So what sort of financial demands you have, and how would you make good that amount that you're investing into it? And then the financial deals that you're getting into with your customers. You may want to get into, say that I may give you, it's like buy one and get one other one free. Whatever deals that you're getting into, it's fine to get into deals, but again, think of it from the financial perspective. And then the financial deeds. Deeds are the actions. What sort of actions that you take, and how does that translate financially? And lastly, I would recommend people to have a small financial dashboard for whatever they are managing, whatever line or whatever business, whatever projects they are managing. Have a simple dashboard that will give you the important metrics. Maybe just the top line, maybe of headcount, your cash balance, your profit, whatever are the important parameters. So at one look, maybe a week on week or a month on month, whatever is the frequency of which you need to require, depending on the volume of the project that you're handling, at one glance, you will get to know all the basic important things. So these are some of the very important things to develop your financial acumen. So let me repeat them again: financial awareness, financial education, financial metrics, financial decision making, financial demands, financial deals, financial needs, and having a financial dashboard. So I hope that answers Deepak.
Yeah, thanks, Sangeeta. My next question is, what are some techniques to improve the financial acumen of managers? Especially, I'm talking about small entrepreneurs or small businesses like mine, where how do I impart financial acumen to my second in command or the managers who report into me?
Right. So the only basic way is to educate them. As I said, create that awareness that they need to think on financial terms, and then start educating them. Saying, now that you are more financially aware and financially more stronger, so whatever are the important metrics that you need for your business to develop and grow, it is always good for you to teach it to your one downs and instruct them to say, like, hey, in this particular profit, let's say I'm looking at a profit of X percentage, or the collections in the project that you're handling should be, let's say, within 60 days. Whatever are your parameters, you need to educate them, you need to communicate to them and make them understand the importance of it. Now once they are able to understand that, then they'll start working towards it. And of course, I would also say that you can follow the carrot and stick approach, because end of the day, you should tie it down to their career growth, to their appraisals, to their bonuses, whatever, because that's when they would also feel motivated to do what you want to do, right? So that is important. And that apart, I'm sure, these are challenges. So the human mind works in such a way that, to overcome these challenges, you gain a lot of respect for yourself, you gain a lot of self-satisfaction, and you take a lot of pride in whatever you accomplish. So I think those aspects, if they are highlighted to the team members, then it makes a whole lot of difference, because then the entire onus is not just on you as the business owner. It's spread across. So it's similar in organizations as well. Many times I've seen it's just the business head who's breaking his head on all of this and looking at these parameters, but it would make the life of the business head so much easier if we were to educate the teams and then tell them, these are the parameters. Start looking at this, and then thereby the teams are also learning, right? Like I said, it all flows from the top. So if the top person who's handling, the leader or the manager, is financially savvy and thinks on financial aspect, then I think automatically the teams will also start imbibing these things.
Okay. The next question is, what are some tips that you would like to share with us today to improve our financial acumen?
Okay, so I think first one needs to take the interest, right? Only if you create this interest and understand that it's for your good and for your career growth, then automatically you start taking the desired steps. You can't go on and say that I'm ignorant and I don't know anything about finance. No. If you want to grow in your careers and scale to the next level and greater heights subsequently, you need to be financially aware, you need to be financially prudent, and have a good sense of business acumen. So that makes it important. So what you can do is to take the interest. Next, know the major numbers, at an overall level for your organization, and then break it down, deep dive, focus on your department that you're managing or handling. So scrutinize and analyze the numbers, because the numbers also tend to tell you a story. So look through that and see what is it that you can interpret. And of course, if you don't understand much of it, you can always go and reach out to other people who are more financially savvy and what it means and stuff like that. So get to know the numbers that are important for you. 3 is to check the budgets. Everybody has been given a budget. So see if you're within the budgeted numbers that have been given. Could be whatever sales that you're expected to do, or it can be on the cost front, whatever are the budgeted numbers, and where are you in terms of the budget? Have you achieved the target? Have you exceeded the target? Or you still not? And what is the variance, and then have answers ready, because these things will again help you at the time of the appraisal. And last but not the least, I would say ask questions. Find out. If you don't know, that's fine. You can always ask questions and find out and how to get to know it better, and pass it down. Like I said, drive these goals back to your teams so that you're not burdened with the entire thing. So break down whatever are your targets that you have, and to all your teams, and then make them also work towards it so that your lives become easier. So financially, take the interest, get to know what your numbers are, find out your budgets and where you are in terms of accomplishing the budgeted numbers, and ask questions, and then drive your teams to partner with you in helping to achieve the targets that are given to you.
Thank you. And finally, before we take questions from audience, I would like to ask you, what are some of the key messages that you would like to share with us today?
All right. So remember that finance is not boring. Finance is not challenging. It is not a rocket science. So it's only your mindset, right? So just see what you can do to overcome it. Now, what I have told you all along are all different pointers and parameters. See what works well for you, or maybe it could be something else as well. But the idea is for you to not be averse to finance, irrespective of whatever domain you may be in. So get to know, get a hang of the finances, and don't ignore finance, because finance is the backbone of any organization, any sort of business, any vertical, any industry, however big or small it may be, finance is the backbone. So definitely get to know. So read more on finance. Probably you can even talk to other people, maybe in your finance department or wherever, with your peers, attend workshops, things like that. Yeah, I also have my YouTube channel. It's called Sum, an abbreviation of my name. You can feel free. Please subscribe to it, because I keep posting finance mantras every week, that you can use and learn. They are short, for 2 to 3 minutes. So different ways. So the point is, you need to equip yourself financially so that So I'm not saying that you need to be like a CFO or, be number one in finance, but it's important that you understand and see how you can implement it and, go the extra mile towards your business, because that's going to obviously translate into your career.
Okay. So thank you, Sangeeta. Thanks for patiently answering all our questions. Before we take questions from the audience, I would like to make an announcement here. Guys, the best question of the day will actually get a book, What the Finance, which is authored by Sangeeta. It's a bestseller. She will send you a personally autographed copy. So keep your questions coming in, and let's start taking questions from the audience. We have a question from Mr. Nagaraju. Yeah, it's right there on the screen. So is return equals margin into velocity, as said by Ram Charan in his book, What the CEO Wants You to Know? How to measure velocity of margin?
Right. So in my perspective, I haven't read the book, but what I think he would probably means by velocity of the margin is, you can't be like the business does well in one particular year and then the next subsequent year there is a dip. The margins have to be consistent and consistently growing, if not in terms of percentage, at least in absolute terms. So I think that is very important. So you can't have like an ECG, the profits going on, the margins. So the margins have to ideally, steadily increase, as I said, at least in percentage time or the absolute numbers. So that is what probably he means. But once you read the book, I'm sure you know more.
Okay. So we have our next question from Vishnu. What are the key drivers of business acumen?
Right. So when you say business acumen, it's the shrewdness with which you are able to apply your decision making, for example, right? And then think of what can be the possible repercussions. Many times I've noticed people take financial decisions on an emotional basis. It should be more on a rational basis, right? Or they don't think what will be the financial implication, right? So all these things are very important, and I'm not saying finance should be the only basis of business acumen, because I'll give you exceptions as well. For example, let's say you are selling your whatever is your product. As an example I'm giving you, let's say your normal selling price is X. So one particular customer wants a discount, and normally you probably may not be offering discounts. But this particular case, you may take it as an exception and give him a discount of, let's say, 10%, 20%, whatever it is. Why? Because let's say it's a good brand name. So you may want to showcase to say that, my customer is whatever, so and so, and you may want to showcase it and project it to other potential customers. So by doing so, your business acumen improves, because by giving him that small discount of 10 or 20%, you're able to attract, let's say, a larger client base. So this sort of business acumen is what you need to develop. Why finance is important and it's a primary thing, you can't go by only with the financial decisions. So there are always these sort of exceptions. That is what makes having the good business acumen sense very important. So I hope I answered that.
The next question is from Priya. How is strategic planning connected with financial planning?
Right. So strategic planning is more, I will put it this way. Financial planning is planning based on your numbers. What are your forecasts? What are your numbers say? At what levels you need to operate? What are the margins that you're expecting, and so on. Now that is sort of like an end objective that you want from your business. But for you to arrive at those numbers and that solution, what are the steps that you need to be taking, right? That is what makes it strategic planning. So let's say you want your business to have a turnover of X number, right? And let's say that's just as an example, you're planning to double the turnover at that particular level. So that can be the financial planning. So what will be the costs involved and what sort of margins you'll operate in. But for you to achieve that target, what are the resources that you need, right? So what will be your manpower count? What will be like, maybe you need to get into newer geographies, newer customers, newer territories, or maybe newer products, newer services. Those things form part of your strategic planning.
Okay. So we have a question from Rajesh. He wants you to repeat on profit sharing, the three parts of profit sharing which you had mentioned.
Okay, all right. So what I say, it's just again to give you a rough indication. So whatever are the profits, 1/3 of the profits should be retained for the business itself, right? So 1/3 will be the profits for the business. Another 1/3 could be for the teams, and another 1/3 can go in as the reserves. So I'm not saying it has to be exactly, I've also seen a few entrepreneurs who go like saying, 1/3 has to be like this. No, this is just an indicative numbers because it's a healthy practice. So obviously there could be, this way or that way, depending on the requirements and stuff. But this is a healthy thing to have.
We have a question from Pramod. What is mindful decision making and what are the steps involved?
Right. Mindful decision making is more being aware of whatever decisions you're taking. So just thinking about it, and instead of just blindly going by something just because you seem to like it or have a fancy for it, instead of that, being more rational towards the approach. But having said that, I know we are all humans. Emotions play a huge role in our decision making. That is fine. You need to be emotionally driven as well, but do it with awareness, especially in financial terms as well, so that you are prepared and well equipped, so that whatever risk is there, you're able to mitigate it and take whatever is the right decisions based on whatever decision that you're taking. So being fully aware and taking decisions is what I meant.
Right. The next question is from Dennis. Is financial knowledge important right from the start of the career?
Well, if you ask me, I would say yes. But also, I said that it's never too late. So it's just that, you can keep building on it, right? So whenever you start, if you slowly start growing towards it, so by the time you achieve a particular level, you'll be more financially savvy. So it's just that it's not a must. I know people who have been very successful, who have acquired the skill at a little later in stage as well. But it's like the earlier you know, the better for you. So there's no hard and fast rule.
But Sangeeta, in my experience as a recruiter, I have always felt people, candidates with financial knowledge or the financial acumen right at a much younger age, they have always fast-tracked in their career.
Yes, they have a head start. Definitely, yes. So that's why I said the earlier the better, because you will have a head start compared to the rest of the colleagues that you may have.
I think there's a question from Nisha. How would financial acumen benefit positions like engineering or healthcare?
Yeah, irrespective of whatever role that you're playing, as I said, how is it that you're contributing to the financial aspect of the business? You're doing your work, yes, but can you do something little beyond that will propel the organization forward in terms of the financial objectives that the organization has? So, simple things like, somebody can be an admin staff, but yet if they are able to, let's say, negotiate with vendors and add more value. Now, their role is to just to manage the administration, right? But then the skills of negotiation, by doing so, let's say they negotiated better for the business and they're able to bring down some costs, definitely the business is benefited. So you'll need to translate it to financial terms. So in engineering or healthcare, maybe let's say you complete your project, your project is supposed to be done, let's say, in 10 days time, and probably you complete it in 7 days time. and then you're ready to take on another project, right? So you can project that because you've completed it before the deadline and completed it successfully. But again, if it's on a time and material basis, this rule may not be applicable because your billing is based on time and material. So what I said was just an example, and it could be applicable if it's on a fixed cost basis. So these are dynamics and things that you may have to check with your organization. But what I'm trying to tell you is, by showing your efficiency there, or probably you can still say that you worked on it for the 10 days if it's a time and material project, but on the 3 days you took up an additional project and then you completed that, and thereby you contributed to the top line of the business, right? So things like that, you need to just project yourself. So that's why by knowing this, you can take the necessary steps and project that to the organization.
Thanks, Sangeeta. I think we have one last question. We'll take this question. It's from Raj. Has COVID impacted negatively in personal and organization's finance?
Well, yes, that's what I've been hearing because there's a huge cash crunch. Like we know, there's been this lockdown that's happened for so long. So obviously, a lot of business are greatly impacted, and so there is an impact on the business. And on the personal one, obviously there have been a lot of layoffs or pay cuts, or people have been asked to go on furloughs and stuff like that. So yes, definitely there is an impact now.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta. I think we've reached the end of the session. I would want you to pick the best question of the day.
Yes. Okay. While I look through that, probably you would want to announce about the workshop that we are planning.
Yes, I will. Yeah. So Sangeeta is actually doing a session in partnership with e-helium on 29th of August. It's a 4-hour online session.
5 hours.
I'm sorry, yeah, 5 hours online session, and the cost of the program is 4,999. So some of the takeaways from the session will be sharpening one's financial acumen, contribution to the financial growth, and crafting your career growth with all this knowledge. So Sangeeta, would you want to actually throw some light on the session and how you plan to deliver the session?
Yes, so it's going to be an online session. It's going to be interactive and it's going to be live, and it's going to be like a thought-provoking thing, depending on irrespective of whichever level and whichever sort of organization or business that you're into. It would help you, and some of the key things that I'll be taking one through is on understanding the profit and loss, balance sheet overview, the project profitability and the department profitability, financial decision-making implications, what are the 5 pillars for financial success, and the 4A approach, and as well as designing your career growth. So this is just the overview of the program. So it'll definitely benefit. And like I'm not a very traditional, boring finance lecturing person. So my workshops are all lively and very interactive. So yeah, if you're interested, I think the link, everything is being flashed on the screen. So please go ahead and register yourself. And I look forward to meeting you all at the workshop.
Thank you, Sangeeta. Thanks for joining us today. So I would like to sum up some of the learnings that we had today. As I had told at the beginning of the session, you are very, very good in teaching through acronyms. In fact, today also we had quite a number of acronyms and we learned quite a lot through the acronyms. You started off by asking us to be mad. And then you spoke about GEM, you spoke about the 3Ds, you spoke about leadership and how to share profits, the 3 Ps. So thank you so much. It was a lovely session. It was wonderful having you with us today. Thank you.
Most welcome. Thank you. It was great interacting, and thanks to e-helium, Deepak, and your team for hosting this wonderful session. I hope people found a lot of value in it, and I would like to wish all the viewers the very best in their career growth. And I look forward to seeing most of them at the workshop on 29th of August from 9 to 1. It's a Saturday. Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome. Bye.